Hey traders, checking out of the cryptocurrency space. Bounce is getting follow through. Now we're scouting daily lower highs. I just locked in the best trade of 2021, but that means I have exited my swing positions that I've been holding in crypto for 5 months. I'll explain why, my thought process, and my game plan going forward. So first things first, the S&P 500, we were keeping an eye on broader market fear. How's that for alleviation of fear? Just like that, we're 1%, just over 1% from all-time highs. And we are well off of our fear lows. Our weekly higher low is looking pretty set, and the all-time highs are back in the picture. So overall, for markets in general, that's a good sign. That is bulls right back in the driver's seat and keeping control. And we now have a new fear gauge. If that low breaks, it means red flags, bigger picture. If that low holds, the bulls keep complete control. So broader market definitely helping with this cryptocurrency bounce. And now it's up to the bulls to confirm a daily trend change, but there's been plenty of times where we've seen the S&P 500 V-shape straight to a new all-time high without a daily trend change even needed. So extremely strong market day out there today. It's the kind of day where the bulls gap up open and then just grind higher. It's a very strong market day is pretty much how we'll sum it up. So with that, the Bitcoin daily bounce is underway. Again, we played the zoom out game one time frame at a time. Hourly trend change. Then we changed the 4-hour trend. Then we changed the 12-hour trend. Now we're zoomed out and we're scouting a daily lower high. We've got a downtrend resistance line that we can be keeping an eye on. We're not close to testing it. The daily EMA 12 resistance would come first. We're not close to testing that. The bottom line is the most likely scenario here is a daily lower high to be the result of this bounce. Just like every single time frame that we've already done through the zoom out game, it is then up to the bulls to confirm a daily trend change with a higher low and higher high. There is a support level here at 47.1, but there's no trend change at this point because there's no higher low and higher high. This was a higher low compared to the low, but there is no resistance level that we are breaking to confirm a daily trend change. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm just viewing this as a low and scouting the lower high. And I will be watching 47.1 support if it does come back into play on the way down, but it doesn't mean a whole lot to me overall. If we change the daily trend back to the bulls, we then do it on the weekly. Again, it's the exact same thing on every single time frame. We scout a lower high with tons of space for it to form, and the bulls need a weekly trend change back in their favor. So one time frame at a time, and the bulls have done a pretty good job on this bounce. I have now exited all of my swing positions. And again, back in the YouTube videos, you can watch probably June 22nd or the video June 23rd, not sure which one, but talking about my swing entries in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I have held those trades for 5.5 months. That in itself is a miracle for me as a day trader. It's the longest trade I've been in a long time, aside from no touch positions. So why am I exiting now? There's a number of reasons. Number one, the daily lower high is the most likely scenario. Number two, I did not like the amount of drop that I saw, the amount of capital vanishing with the combination of my long-term no-touch position and my swing trades. After that big time flush, I said, whoa, that's a bit more than I wanted to give back on that profit. I want to lock these trades in. I want to be back to all cash, which is where I'm most comfortable as far as being able to navigate these volatile opportunities. And again, just starting 2021 with a fresh, clean slate and closing out all trades of starting 2022 with a fresh, clean slate and closing out all trades in this year. So that's my mindset. I may re-enter some swing. So let's say we top out here or even a little bit higher and we start pulling back on the daily and we head back down to 48,000. I can re-enter and start scaling back in some of my swing position and then maybe use that low as a stop. If this is a monthly high or low and we head back up to the all-time high, I'll be back in some position, some small position. I've been scaling out my swing position on this bounce over the last few days. And again, I'm viewing this as a second chance. I have a second chance to sell 20% to 30% with Ethereum over the low because, again, at the low, that's too much giving back of profit. So that is where I stand. Now, a lot of people look at this. I love the people on Twitter where I post that and I post my 100% plus win and people are nitpicking and telling me the things I could have done to make it a better trade. I love that, but appreciate the insight. So What if we go back to the all-time highs? I'll have more money than I have today. It's that simple. I will make money if we go back to all-time highs. I won't make as much money, but again, I've smashed my goal on the year in trading in general, both crypto and stocks combined. I'm at about maybe 250% more than what my goal on the year was. So locking that in is a no-brainer for me. And the number one thing that me as a trader, 11 years in and 10,000 trades in, maybe not that many, but many thousands of trades in, there's always another opportunity. And even if we run from here, great. We explode to the upside, I'll buy the 5-minute oversold back burner bounce and I'll make money. So again, as a full-time trader, I have no doubts or no concerns whatsoever that I will continue to make money regardless of what the market environment is. And if the bulls do keep complete control, I'll make more money. So I know that might sound a little egotistical or cocky, but really it's just a whole bunch of confidence through a whole bunch of experience. And we'll watch for the tightening daily ranges. So 4-hour uptrends are our guides. Current consolidation, we're scouting a 4-hour high or low. And one other aspect, again, these mining stocks continue to give us more opportunity. Get back into the analysis in just a second. But again, if you look back at the last year and a half, these mining stocks have gone 4-figure percentages, multiple times more than what Bitcoin has done. And from the low of the drop yesterday, MARA is up more than Bitcoin. And you can trade it for 0 fees in the US. So the amount of trades that I've taken on the mining names, I've only just started to really trade them more actively the last couple of weeks. But if I were doing the same capital trades in cryptocurrency, I would be 5 figures in by now in terms of the amount of fees that I would have paid for both directions to be day trading crypto in the way that I'm day trading these names. So again, that's another thing that I want to point out. There is significant opportunity in these crypto miners for volatility without the fees. Bitcoin. So we're looking for a 4-hour high or low, anything above 47.1. If we're going to set up the daily lower high being set, this pullback will be significant enough that once we do set a 4-hour high or low, we'll confirm a 4-hour downtrend to make that daily lower high convincing. If we set a 4-hour high or low and keep this move going, which is entirely possible, I'll then be watching my downtrending resistance line that I just showed you, which will then be coming into play. We'll be watching daily EMA 12, and we'll still be scouting the daily lower high. Again, at this point, anything under, for me, it's 59.2. So anything under 59.2 thousand, which is 15% plus to the upside, is just a daily lower high. And the bulls at this point are just trying to create as much space as possible for the eventual daily trend change attempt once we do top out. Bitcoin dominance chart not doing a whole lot. Again, we're just watching this bottom and the monthly time frame potentially tightening up, trying to hold that support. But as I said in the last video, I'm getting a whole bunch more information from individual pairings, alt BTC. And I'm about to go through an example of Ethereum because there's still a lot of people that don't have this concept grasped yet. And that's fine. It's a tricky concept in terms of how to utilize alt BTC pairings for clues in our trading. So I'm going to go over a real life example. I'm going to use some ChartGuys members' names in there, and I hope they're all right with that. Maybe I'll blur them out. I'm going to blur them out, but I'm going to do some reading here. So this is the morning chat room. So here's me exiting all of my swing at 6:30. And from there, I give my rundown of what Bitcoin and Ethereum setups are right here. So now where is it? Ethereum. So 6:30 in the morning. Note, ETH BTC is losing the spotlight a bit. We know Ethereum's been stronger than Bitcoin on the bounce up to this point. 6:30 a.m., I am first noticing it's weakening. It's been weaker the last few 4-hour candles versus ETH USD, and it's an hourly rising wedge watch. So at that point in time, at 6:30 in the morning, we had already started 4-hour consolidation when all USD pairings had not yet. Bitcoin and Ethereum, high or low every single 4-hour candle for the last 6 in a row at that point. So the fact that ETH BTC had already started consolidating was showing us the spotlight weakening. And this was the rising wedge that I drew. So keeping an eye out for that signal. So what information does that give us? So then hours later, ETH BTC weakening versus ETH USD was a clue this morning. And I say that in terms of the ETH USD consolidation that we are currently seeing. So over the last few hours, we've been seeing some weakness. We set an hourly lower high and lower low. So after highlighting that 6:30 a.m. and then re-highlighting it 4 hours later saying, look back, this was a clue. The question was, so Bitcoin is still going up just fine. This was 2 hours ago. Bitcoin is still going up just fine, and it's bringing ETH USD along with it, just slower. So he was pointing out, well, how is that a bear clue? So at that point in time, Bitcoin was up at the high, and Ethereum was still holding on fine. It was just weaker. So my answer was, I'd be scouting the ETH USD top fish with this resistance, looking for a short entry. And why am I doing that? Because I know that the next time Bitcoin sees hourly consolidation, ETH USD is positioned well for the bears because the BTC pairing is already weakening. And if Bitcoin consolidates and ETH BTC keeps dropping, that means Ethereum is going to drop harder. And at that point in time, Bitcoin on the hourly time frame or the 4-hour time frame was a bit extended. We haven't seen any real 4-hour consolidation since going 10%. And at that point in time, the S&P 500 is very extended to the upside. And I was watching for that potential consolidation to have an impact on Bitcoin. It has not seen any real consolidation at this point, so that's not a factor, but that was part of my mindset as far as watching for the short trade. So let's get exact here. 1043 is where I said I would be scouting the ETH top fish. And that was right here. So I'm not shorting in the cryptocurrency space because I'm still on Coinbase Pro, which sucks, but that doesn't have, there's no exchange that meets the criteria as far as security, insurance, and liquidity of what I'm looking for as a trader. So I am in prison on Coinbase Pro until that comes along. So I'm not shorting the cryptocurrency space, but there are times I did today, I shorted Riot and ended up with 1 loss and 1 win, uneventful, but I am exploring more shorting those crypto stocks when I would be looking to short crypto itself and benefiting off that correlation. So the short here, and then a bit after that, I said I'd be out half of this short, and now I'm in a risk-free short. So that's the way I do it. I short, exit half the position, stop over the high, 0 risk. If that's our daily lower high, I nail it. If it's not, I stop out and don't lose $1. That is how I trade as far as scaling in sometimes, but scaling out. Exiting half, break even risk-free, let it play out. So now at this point, the 4-hour consolidation is following through more significantly on Ethereum. Tons of space for a higher low, but if we pull back significantly enough, look at the daily candle on ETH USD. Again, anything under, I'm going to use 47.85, anything under that is a daily lower high for me. And we have a bearish reversal candle shaping up on the daily time frame. Again, we're not going to anticipate losing the 4-hour uptrend anytime soon, but if we see a bit further pullback, we will then be scouting the possibility of that lower high and lower low. But again, if you're in a risk-free trade and you just set your stop and let it play out, there is nothing more comfortable than that scenario. So scouting the daily lower high in Ethereum, and again, that's another reason why I exited all of my swing position, because daily lower high is the most likely scenario, and I can always re-enter on daily consolidation if I want to. I can look for hourly oversold conditions from here to be scouting a daily higher low. And ETH BTC was the first clue that would have us looking in the other direction. ETH BTC, bigger picture, daily consolidation is potentially shaping up. I would call anything above 773 a daily higher low. So not at risk of losing the daily uptrend at this point, but it might be time for that daily consolidation, which would mean if Bitcoin tops out and is consolidating and ETH BTC is dropping with it, that means ETH USD is seeing a bigger pullback from the high of its bounce. Luna USDT, we checked in last time, nice volatility in both directions. Again, after the extreme volatility that we see, there is opportunity for both bulls and bears. So from that all-time high, we double topped, pulled back a significant amount, set a 12-hour high or low. Here's your 12-hour lower high, and we're now going to be watching for another higher low, anything above 59.77 within this 12-hour tightening range. It is still a lead bull, but it's weakening a little bit. Was there a clue on the BTC pairing? It did the same thing as the USDT pairing. Double top here. So I wouldn't say there was any kind of advanced clue, but we have to be cautious because if Luna BTC confirms a 12-hour downtrend for the first time on this entire breakout. That will be the spotlight fading on Luna USDT. Binance, watching for a daily lower high, anything under 649.80. And again, watch the BTC pairing. It's been extremely strong in a daily uptrend. If the daily uptrend is lost in BNB, BTC, and weekly consolidation begins, we have to be cautious of further downside. I don't think we're going to break the lows on the next time we consolidate in the cryptocurrency space. I do believe daily higher lows are coming. But again, we can trade within the range that we're establishing right now for a long time. And if we go back and look at Bitcoin back in May on the dump, it was a bit different. It was a bit more volatile. The size of the drop and bounce was a lot faster. But look at this one candle here. So vacuum in the background, apologies. So this one candle here, we have a very wide range. We bounced, we failed to break the top of that candle. We set a daily higher low, lower high, higher low, lower high, just an equilibrium for weeks. And here we are, one big red candle. It was two, but the last big red candle, we're bouncing, watching for a lower high compared to the high of that candle. Then we're going to scout the higher low. Then we're going to scout the lower high. So I'm anticipating volatility in the cryptocurrency space pending any surprise news, but I'm anticipating volatility is going to dry up eventually once we see that lower high. Then we'll scout the higher low, and then we'll look for a tightening range and wait for that range to break sometime towards the end of December. I know a lot of people, again, on Twitter, just people saying, new all-time highs before the end of the year. It's just not feasible without a surprise news catalyst. Because even if you change the daily trend, and by then we're talking December 12th, great, daily trend change for the bulls, zooming out, we just scout a weekly lower high. Then we need a weekly higher low and a weekly trend change. At that point, you're at the end of the year, essentially. So I am not in any rush. No FOMO, no nothing. Let this daily range play out. Mana USD, nice 12-hour equilibrium. Again, the ranges are great here in both directions. Bears had a short for 20% to the downside here. Bulls had a long for 30% to the upside, but we're in a 12-hour equilibrium still. And we're going to be looking for this lower high to shape up, and then we'll scout a higher low. And Sand USDT is very similar, but a bit weaker. 12-hour lower high, potentially shaping up. And if we drop down and break support on Sand, it's a red flag for Mana, even if we haven't broken that Mana support yet. Right now, SPY is just starting some 5-minute consolidation. Again, it's just been grinding up all day. Maybe getting the first hourly consolidation here of the day. And Bitcoin, potentially a little bit of added downside pressure. Let's see if 50.7 breaks to see further Bitcoin consolidation. So again, that's all my mindset. That's where we stand. My next trades, I will be scouting daily higher low potential entries. And I'll be using oversold conditions to be scouting those daily higher lows. But again, I'm in no rush. And for me, it's just a big sigh of relief, a big exhale. Great. 2021 was awesome. Mental reset. Wipe the slate clean. Long-term no-touch positions aren't going anywhere. Not touching those. And now just waiting to see how the next opportunity presents itself. So that is how I am currently approaching the cryptocurrency space, fitting my trading style and my game plan. For other people who are not as confident trading, they don't want to exit swing positions because their biggest fear is, how will I know to get back in? What if I miss the move? That makes a lot more sense. For someone who has a bunch of experience and is not worried at all about being able to find a re-entry spot or being able to capitalize, because when you're a newer trader, if you exit the position, it's almost like you have this gripping fear where you can't get back in. You can't rebuy higher. I have no problem rebuying higher if the probabilities are in my favor and if I'm going to be profitable on that trade right away. Because again, my goal is stacking USD. Other people have goals of stacking crypto, as much crypto as possible. That's fine. But for me, this has always been about financial freedom, and I'm still using US dollars to pay for things in my life, pretty much 99.9% of things in my life. And as long as that is the case, I'm going to be looking to stack US dollars. Doesn't mean I'm sitting on an asset that is deteriorating. It means I am turning it into other assets and using it for life experiences and all this stuff. So for me, it's always been about profiting and US dollars. Long-term no touch is for keeping a stash in crypto that maybe we'll look back on in 40 years and say, look how smart I was. All right. Feel free to ask any questions. Don't forget to do good things, and we'll continue with our Road Trip Adventure series. Picking up on chapter 2 of the Road Trip Adventure, last we left off was just starting off in Smoky Mountain National Park, North Carolina. Camped there for a few days, ended up going westward through Kentucky on my way towards Colorado out west, and encountered this nice box turtle guy, and he had some really cool patterns on his back. But what I loved about being able to travel on my own in terms of, choosing the days that I travel is picking when I go to places on weekdays, because there's way less people out there on weekdays. And in Kentucky here, this was the first time I really got to be by myself, because the national park in North Carolina still had a lot of people there. So after about a week on the road, this was my first time being completely alone. And the best part about traveling and road tripping is your agenda is literally, I want to see cool things and I want to get from point A to point B. So the only things you need to worry about are obviously for your safety, but what am I going to eat today? What do I have to carry with me? Where am I going to nap? And make sure you have your tent set up before dark. That's pretty much it. So you have tons of time to just explore and, oh, that looks cool over there. I'm going to go, check that spot out, or I'm going to climb those rocks, or it's just complete freedom, which is really empowering. But got to this spot and again, nobody else around. So just got naked. And the first time I could rinse off dirt and sweat from a week on the road. And what I love most about road tripping and why I think everybody should, practice or do it in some degree is how much we take things for granted as human beings. And I do it as well. Everybody does it. But the kind of things where a shower, if you're showering every day or every other day, it's just this routine. It's this habit and you got to do it. If you're showering once a week or once every 2 weeks, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to you. And it's so enjoyable. And it just would blow my mind as I was sitting there that you turn a knob and hot water comes out of the wall. And thinking about 99.9% of every human that's ever lived did not have that capability. And the ones that did were reserved for royalty. And here we are, and any average Joe can have 2 places in their house where they turn something, or more than that if you include sinks. You turn a knob and hot water on demand. It's astounding. And even just things such as, a hot meal, or there's so many things where you're road tripping and you're roughing it and you're sleeping in a bed becomes the greatest thing ever. And it just makes you so much more appreciative of those things when you do have them after not having them for a while. So I ended up hanging out here, swimming in the creek, found a nice rock to nap on. And when I woke up, there were a bunch of buzzards circling above me and they thought I was a naked dead guy. Fortunately, that was not the case. So a bunch of lush nature in Kentucky as well. And these spots reminded me, I actually didn't put these up, I came across them, but they reminded me of Andy Goldsworthy. And if you're not familiar with Andy Goldsworthy, he's a really, really cool natural artist. He goes out in nature and he does these things. This is his documentary, Leaning into the Wind, but his rock structures, and he makes things out of twigs and leaves and icicles, and the way he manipulates the natural environment, knowing that it's only temporary, the vast majority of his art pieces, is just really cool. Look up Andy Goldsworthy and check out some of the stuff that he does. So that reminded me of a lot of his work in terms of stone stacking. Found a cool feather, was hanging out with Ringo on the trip, keeping me company. That was a spot where I camped got under that overhang, and any rainstorms that came through, I was completely protected and able to have a fire under there. And there were some cool waterfalls nearby as well. And I actually ended up getting a little bit lost in terms of not being able to find my destination of where I was going to camp here. But again, it's the kind of thing where there's nobody around and you just pick a clear spot and to say, well, I'm going to sleep here tonight and then we'll see what tomorrow brings. And what really was another big adjustment was time. So when you're in a routine and you go to work, or, you have your routine in daily life, time flies by because it's the same monotonous stuff that you do consistently. And I'm in that space right now. And that's been some of the biggest shifts in my life in the last 5 years, going from every single day being something completely new and foreign and things you're not expecting to see. I know I'm going to Mammoth Cave National Park, but I have no idea what it looks like. I've never been there. And it's just all new and exciting and fresh. And time slows down so much where every single day is so distinctly different than the day before it and the day after it, as opposed to when you're in a routine like I am right now doing the TheChartGuys stuff and doing stocks. I wake up, I have my routine, and that makes the days kind of blend together a little bit. So if you are trying to make things slow down and stop and smell the roses, the more new experiences and the more new stimuli that you can give your senses, the more that's going to happen. And time is very subjective, in my opinion. You know, they've done studies where you take old people and young people and they say, all right, time a minute in your head. And consistently, for older people, they are early. And so that means time, the perception of time means it goes by faster. And the younger people are consistently later, meaning time is perceived slower. So I don't really understand what time is, but I do know that you can manipulate it in certain ways in terms of how it affects your life. So we'll head on to chapter 3, and that's going to continue heading westward through Kentucky to Mammoth Cave National Park, another cool spot. And we'll check in then. I hope you all continue to do good things out there. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.